everybody? This is your host, Huge Pop from the Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. Tonight, our guest is an indie wrestler from SICW Wrestling. Thank you, Herb Simmons, for setting this up. Our guest is one of the best. He can outwork most others. He can wrestle and brawl with the best. Pound for pound, he doesn't back down. He flies around the ring like an acrobat. The tougher the opponent, the better he likes it. Please join us tonight as we speak with the one, the only, mystery action clown, Billy McNeil. How you doing, my guy? Awesome.
Hey, how's it going, man? That was an incredible intro. I don't know who told you all that stuff, but most of it's probably true.
I will have to give, and I told the man I'd tell you, I'd say it. Herb Simmons, man, that's how he really feels about you. So that's straight from the man's mouth. And so there you go. First of all,
hey, that's cool with me.
Before I get into any of these wrestling questions or anything like that, dude, I've interviewed many people, and your promo, hands down, was the coolest, funniest, laughed my ass off promo. You knocked it out of the park. It was so cool. I thank you for that, man.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I had a couple ideas in mind, and just wound up in my garage and thought, what can I do with this? And here we are.
There you go. So man, everybody has a beginning as a fan. So can you tell us what it was like for you being a fan and who you like?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I grew up in just outside of Minneapolis in Minnesota. Lots of access to wrestling there back when the AWA was still running because I'm super duper old. And it's kind of just in the culture there, and happened to catch it one day and thought, oh, this is pretty crazy. And then, not long after that, thinking, I think I'm gonna do this someday. And sure enough, I was right. But back then I was watching AWA, WCCW, USWA, WWF, NWA, WCW. I mean, pretty much anything I could find, I would watch just because I became that enamored with it. It was just the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life. And, naturally, as a probably 7, 8-year-old at the time, I just wanted nothing but wrestling all the time. And so I did whatever I could to make that happen.
Okay. Now, I asked this question. I'm shocked at the answer a lot of people give me. Do you watch any current stuff? Oh, yeah,
I watch current stuff all the time.
Okay. A lot of guys from the indies are like, I don't watch it. So it's good to hear that somebody who does watch it still.
Oh yeah, I mean, I like to keep up with what's going on. What's popular in wrestling now? Who's doing what? Who some of the more talented and popular guys are, just to kind of adjust accordingly as pro wrestling changes all the time. Always has, always will. So if you miss out on that, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice to at least not keep up with what's going on. So I feel like it comes with the territory to have to do that.
Okay. Now, do you think that the newer stuff is missing something like compared to the older days? And if so, what would that be?
Yes, but it's kind of hard to put a finger on what it is exactly, just because I feel like a lot of the magic and the mystery is gone to kind of say some words that don't really mean anything, but I feel like I know what I'm talking about when I say it. Just because I mean, back in the day, you got to understand, all you young people out there was actually not an internet at one point, and you didn't have constant access to the entire accumulated human history of knowledge. So, you didn't know how things worked all the time, and it wasn't easy to find out if you didn't. So it was just a different world back then. And I don't know that we could ever get back to that. Aside from going back to the Stone Age, which hopefully doesn't happen anytime soon. But it's just changed. It's a lot more athletically based now. There's less focus on character, which I think is something that could probably, there's room to work there. People can be characters, entertaining, engaging characters. I'm not saying everybody's got to be Doink the Clown, but just to have something to set you apart. I mean, like myself, for instance, I'm a average looking, middle-sized white dude. There's not a whole lot original I have to offer just by being me. So I gotta bring some of my personality into it and try and see what I can do with that and what people respond to and what engages them.
Absolutely. So you said you watched WCW, so I'm going to ask a trick question. Okay.
Yeah. Sure, go for it.
Who is the greatest WCW champion of all time?
It wouldn't be me if I didn't answer David Arquette.
Perfect. Absolutely. David Arquette. I stole that
man,
question. It was a TikTok crazy thing I stole it from. So yeah.
No, I would love nothing more than to wrestle David Arquette someday. That would be amazing. From what I understand, he's not doing it anymore, which is a bummer, but hey, guy can hope, right?
Yep. So where were you at? What were you doing when you said, you know what? I'm going to become a pro wrestler and I need to look up I need to find somewhere to train.
See, I guess probably when I actually got serious about it, it was probably the latter half of my senior year of high school. And there was a back in the day in the Pro Wrestling Illustrated, the after mags, there was a thing you could order. It was like an instructional pamphlet on how to get into the pro wrestling business. I believe King Kong Bundy was either the proprietor of that or the involved in it in some way. But basically, you sent like $15 away and they sent you this little booklet about, here's where wrestling schools are. Here's how to get in contact with them. Here's where promotions are run out of, et cetera, et cetera. But I got a hold of that. And then, of course, naturally found the man, the myth, the legend, Bastion Booger, Mike Shaw, Norman the Lunatic, whatever you guys may know him as. If you don't recognize any of those names, please Google him. He's fantastic. But anyway, I found him, gave him a call, just got some information from him and said, you know what, this feels right. I'm going to move to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan for 9 months.
Wow, that takes a lot of balls. Or no brains. I mean, I'm from Michigan, so I know how cold it gets. And I'm like...
Well, luckily I had the experience of living in Minnesota before that, so I had a little primer before going to the frozen tundra of the Upper Peninsula.
Absolutely. What do you remember most about training, and how hard were the bumps, and what was it all just bumps, or is there more to it?
Oh, there's definitely more to it than that. I remember the bumps being especially hard just because we were training in a kickboxing ring. We shared the gym space with a Muay Thai kickboxing training camp type thing. And so anyway, we were training in a boxing ring, which was already hard enough. And then from constantly bumping in it, we broke it. So then to fix it, they determined that, hey, we're going to put cinder blocks in the middle of this, in the middle of the ring to hold up the cross beam. At which point it went from pretty uncomfortable to like landing on the floor. That wasn't very much fun, but yeah, there was a lot of it was, the physical involvement of wrestling, but there was definitely talk about constructing matches, psychology, that sort of thing. It's just kind of, it wasn't the most structured environment. I'll say that, but it got me my start. Okay. If you could give me 1 second here.
Okay.
Hey, what's up, man?
What's going on, championship?
I'm on a podcast right now. Hey,
Is it possible to stop by up here and get a 2-liter of Diet Pepsi for me?
Yeah, I got you, dude. Okay, sorry about that. Had to pay a quick visit to my father-in-law.
Sorry.
Yeah, anyway. Sorry, as you were, sir.
Yeah, I was we're talking about training and talking about bumps, and that dropping on cinder blocks, that would have sucked, I would suppose.
Oh, it did, and thankfully I was very young at the time, so I could bounce back from that a little bit easier. If I tried doing that now, I'd be in the hospital almost immediately.
Right.
But it definitely gave me the baseline for what a bump felt like was probably way worse than it actually was. So everything since then has actually felt pretty nice.
Awesome. So back then, I'm going to ask this question. Who's the greatest influence and impact on your life in wrestling then, and how about now?
Oh, geez. Wow. That's a pretty loaded question. Because I mean, that kind of spans, people I've met and interacted with, people I've just happened to see on television, whoever. But I mean, look, I'll just go from the top. I mean, Mike Shaw was the one who got me started, so I got to give him some credit for that. Got my feet in the door. He allowed me some pretty amazing, stuff to do that I never would have got on my own. I got to do an angle with Terry Funk, like when I was about 6 months into the business, which is more insane to me now than it was then when it happened. So, yeah, I give Mike Shaw a lot of credit. I give Big Bad Ben, proprietor of Gateway Championship Wrestling here in St. Louis. God rest his soul, Ben Oliver. He ran that company, and there was when I left training at Mike's school, moved back down to St. Louis, got involved with Gateway Championship Wrestling, and it was a bunch of guys just like me and gals who loved wrestling, were young, just had a burning passion and a hunger to do it, and we all just pushed each other to get better. So that whole group of guys that started out, I mean, I'll say Jack Adonis, CJ McManus, Rat Boy. If you guys haven't seen Rat Boy, please look him up on YouTube. He's fantastic. I know I'm going to forget names here, so I apologize in advance. But Outcast, Delirious, Matt Seidel, Mischief, Daisy Hayes, that whole group. Oh, Dingo, of course. I'm sorry, Dingo. He definitely belongs on that list. Me and that dude tried to kill each other for like 3 years straight. Ryan Ash, my old tag team partner, he's up there too. But that I got my start with Mike Shaw. That group of people like just galvanized my love for pro wrestling and my want to continue to do it and learn as much as I could and go as far as I could with it. So, right. Sorry, that was very long winded.
That's all right. Now, would you put Herb Simmons on that list?
Absolutely. He's he's as far as where I'm at now, yeah, because I don't know where I'd be without Herb Simmons right now. I've been trying for a little while to get involved with SICW, and then I finally got a chance. And thank you to Sean Vincent for that. Another person from early on who, as I said, if I forget you, I apologize. Not to slight anyone personally, but Sean Vincent, kind of helped me get in the door there. And then once I did, he helped me get a job there, and Herb's kept me fed for the last, God, like how time flies, another 5-6 years now, I think. It's been a long time.
So Sean Vincent, you mentioned Sean Vincent.
Of course.
The worst Canadian ever, right? Are you on part of it? Are you on his side?
I mean, I can't say that for sure because I haven't met every single Canadian, but he's definitely up there.
Yeah. No, he's a great guy. I love Sean Vincent. He's a character.
Oh yeah, come on. Of course.
Who can't love that guy, right? So
exactly. Oh, Demon G. I want to thank Demon G too. He's one of the first people I worked with. They know him as Jason Breed now in SICW, but he was Demon G back in the day. And the first day of training, he kind of got me involved and made me feel welcome. So I owe him for that.
So what sticks out in your mind about your first match?
Oh, it was terrible. I had no business being in the ring. The guy who I worked with was an absolute saint for putting up with me. And no, when we were talking, a couple days ago over Messenger, but I had my first match like 3 weeks into training, which is way too soon. But I was way too enthusiastic and way too not smart to know that was a bad idea. So I just went with the guys from Mike Shaw's training school on a road trip down to Wisconsin, and they got me in the ring and said, "Hey," they vouched for me. They said, "Yeah, this guy can work. Put him in there with one of our guys," and they did. And I wrestled in front of a very intoxicated man and his 2 young children, and that was the entire crowd. There were 3 people there.
Okay.
I did a couple of spots that I had to remind myself in which order they came and what to do about 600,000 times, even though I barely did anything in the match. And I just remember it being incredibly nerve-wracking. I'm kind of glad it wasn't in front of a huge crowd, but it got to start somewhere, I guess.
Now, did I see right that you wrestled for like the last 24 years, right? 25 years.
Yeah, yeah. First match was September. I want to say 19th,
Okay.
1999. So
So
yeah.
amongst the last 24 years, there's a loaded
Mhm.
question again. Is there anybody that you've faced that you don't want to face again? And is there anybody out there that you want to get a match with before your career's over?
Oh yeah. Anybody who I face who I don't want to face again. I don't know. I'm not thinking of nobody off the top of my head. Nobody's sticking out. I regardless of who it was over the years, be it good, bad, or indifferent, there's something to take from each one of those matches, and
All right.
I
Yeah.
try and make the best any situation. In terms of guys who I want to work with, I mean, like I've got my list of dream matches that'll probably never happen, but if I could wrestle against Tajiri, that'd be amazing. He was one of my favorites back in the day. You can probably see his influence in some of my stuff now.
Okay.
Paul London's another one. Again, you can probably see his influence in some of the stuff I do now. Those two off the top of my head, I would say the original Doink Matt Bourne, but he's no longer with us, of course. But uh, Jeff Hardy would be pretty cool. I used to steal a lot of his stuff. In fact, I used to dress almost exactly like him when I started. So,
Yeah. All right.
that'd be a cool little thing to do. But, hey, if it never happens, that's cool. I've had an insane ride so far. And, hey, whoever wants to step up next from the SICW locker room, I'd be happy to get in there with them.
Do you have anybody in mind in SICW locker room?
Yeah, I'd like to take Brandon Beretta down a peg. That'd be nice. There's so many guys there. I wouldn't mind having another match with Bryce Covey, new guy coming up.
Okay.
Our last match got interrupted by Axe Allward. I would like to see where that one was going to go had that not happened. So,
All right.
yeah, maybe him,
Okay.
or just to punch Brandon Beretta in the face would be nice.
No one likes Brandon Beretta. Jeez. Oh, geez.
Everybody respects him just because of how amazing he is, but at the same time, you got to keep him humble.
Right. Yeah. So is there closest friend in the industry, in the business? Would you say you have a close friend in the business that you turn to always, that you would love, that's it, that's the guy?
I mean, I've had a few over the years. Sean Vincent, we've known each other for 24 years now, I guess.
Wow.
It doesn't seem that long, but if I ever had any kind of issue or needed any kind of advice or anything like that, him or Jason Breed, as I said earlier, Demon G. Unfortunately, a lot of the guys that I started with aren't around anymore. Everybody kind of takes their own path in pro wrestling. A lot of them kind of found their way out of it. But there's still a couple of us kicking around. So, it's nice to have some familiar faces.
So when I say influences, I think about the locker room, and I ask this question a lot. How important is it for guys coming up, even guys like you that's been in the business for 24 years, to stop and shut up and listen to the locker room guys, the legends, and what they have to say?
Oh, I think it's really important. No matter who you are, there's always something new to learn. I find that to be true. And if you ever stop learning, you should probably just stop wrestling, because it's always a work in progress. No matter how good you are, you can always be better. You're always going to run into people who have not necessarily better experiences or better ways to do things, just different ways to do things. Everybody kind of learns, depending on where you go, who you end up working with, what area you're in, whatever. You're going to learn different things, and you can pass those things along to the other guys, who may not have had that sort of experience. So yeah, I think it's, one of the most important things we can do.
So if I was a rep coming up in the business and it was my first year, what advice would you give to me or anybody else?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat the first part of that? I didn't catch that.
What advice, if like I was coming up through the business or somebody else other than me was coming through the business, they walk through the SICW doors or whatever, that wherever you're at, what advice would you give to somebody that was wanting to get into the business?
A few things, I guess. just take in as much wrestling as you possibly can. Take in as much advice as you possibly can. You want your ears open and your mouth closed most of the time. Just defer to people who know what they're doing. Defer to anybody who's been doing it longer than you, and just try and be as patient as possible. Because I mean, nobody starts out wrestling wanting to be, the guy who gets destroyed in 30 seconds in the second match on the show. But sometimes that's going to be your spot because that's your level of, talent, experience, etc. That's where you got to be, and try not to get frustrated with stuff like that because it happens to everybody. Nobody comes in main eventer right out of the gate. Just be patient, learn as much as you can, immerse yourself in it. And the most important lesson of all, have fun.
Okay. Now, Billy McNeil, mystery action clown. I see here you could be called Mick Danger. You mentioned before we even started, you have many names. Where do you get your names from?
Mostly they just pop into my head. So I don't really necessarily have a process to it. I'll put two words together and be like, oh man, that'd be a hilarious nickname. Or a lot of them too are pop culture references, which I'm fond of. So for the brief time I was working for St. Louis Anarchy, I would be announced by a different nickname every match. I was the Ocean Walker. I was Three Armed Sally, Chalupa Batman. Trying to remember any others I may have had at that time, but yeah, all pop culture references to things I find amusing and little Easter eggs for somebody to hear and go, "Hey, I recognize that thing," and have a little chuckle.
Yeah, and I can tell by your promo, especially. I love the one that go, "Be there or be rectangular." I mean, you're pretty. I'm telling you, your promo was top notch. Your promo, I will never forget that promo, man. I will never forget.
Thank you.
So
thank you. Appreciate that.
No problem, man. As a fan, man, I love talking to guys like you as a fan. So, what is your?
Hey, I'm a fan too, man.
Okay, that was my question. What is your? How important are fans? How important are fans? What kind of interactions do you get with fans in your career? Are there been any funny ones?
I mean, without the fans, I'm just some guy acting goofy in a weird outfit, in a ring. So, I mean, it really can't be overstated how important the fans are because so much of what we do is dependent on a crowd involved in reacting to it. Like, go back and watch the stuff that happened during the pandemic when there was no audience and it was just silence. It's super weird and kind of off-putting just because there isn't that natural energy between the crowd and the performers, which is key to pro wrestling. That energy, everything feeds off of it. The performers feed off the energy of the crowd. Crowd feeds off the energy of the performers. If the people performing the match are having fun, the crowd's having fun. It's just enhances the experience tenfold. And without that, we're just a bunch of goofballs. But I'm trying to think of any particular interactions with fans I've had. I mean, I like going out at intermission, goofing around, having fun with people, just keeping things light, keeping things fun. Let's see, wasn't like weird experiences. I did have this dude message me on Facebook. This is near a decade ago at this time, but he offered to buy my gear, and then he also offered to buy my hair if I were to cut it off, which was pretty strange. So I kind of stopped talking to him after that.
Yeah, I think you should.
Yeah, that was an odd one. I didn't know that was a thing. So hey, that's your thing. Good for you, but I don't care to be involved.
Absolutely. So I have two phrases: brotherhood and paying their dues. What's that mean to you?
I mean, I think pro wrestling is based on a brotherhood just because of the amount of trust you have to have in the people around you. And without that, we're, this is a high wire act with no net. So if you can't trust the guys you're around, you might as well get out because it's just, it's going to be a bad time, and that brotherhood and that camaraderie is a lot of what, made pro wrestling fun and keeps pro wrestling fun, because, it's a good time. And without it, if it wasn't enjoyable, I wouldn't do it. I'll put it that way. And it has been and continues to be. And if it ever stops, I'll probably quit.
Okay. I have, like I said, I don't know if I told you this or not, but I'm a foster dad. My wife and I run the emergency shelter. We care for 7 kids, and they all want to know what Mr. Scott does. So, and I tell them what I do. So they say, "Can I ask questions? Can I ask questions?" I said, "Well, you can't come on camera, but what questions would you ask?" So I call this the kids' question part of the show.
Sweet.
So they're just quick questions, whatever, short answers. Favorite food?
You got it. Pizza.
Perfect. Does pineapple belong on your pizza?
Absolutely.
Okay. Favorite book?
Pineapple bacon.
Yeah.
My favorite book? Jeez. One. Probably John Dies at the End.
Yeah, okay.
Also an amazing feature film. Probably my favorite of all time.
Okay. Favorite TV show?
All time, News Radio.
Okay. Do you have any hobbies?
Several. I'm a cat dad. I got 3 of those little fellas running around at home.
Okay.
I like to I do some freelance art. I make music sometimes on FL Studio. I got a lot of things I like to get involved in. I feel like I'm a creative person. I'm always trying to find different outlets for that. So when I find time, that's what I like to do.
Awesome. Favorite sports team?
Favorite sports team? This one's going to go way back, but the Minnesota North Stars. They're no longer a team as far as I know. I don't really follow sports much anymore, but I remember growing up back in was it 1990? I want to say 91 when they went to the Stanley Cup Finals against the Pittsburgh Penguins. I've never loved a sports team more than those Minnesota North Stars, and they blew it big time.
Yeah. What's your Mount Rushmore of wrestlers?
Mount Rushmore of wrestlers. This is probably going to differ from most people, but if I'm doing a personal Mount Rushmore, I'm going Macho Man Randy Savage, Doink the Clown, Tajiri.
Okay.
And let's see, number 4 on there. I got to go Bret Hart.
All right. That's a good top 4.
Not the most peculiar, but there's definitely 2 peculiar choices in there, which I feel like suits me, but may not suit everyone.
Absolutely. So I don't want to spend I want to give SICW and that promotion and Herb Simmons and you a lot of time to talk about SICW. So Herb Simmons, man, he is a genius, and he did say these words. I took it off this Facebook Messenger, and he said, I'll pull it up because he says, here we go. He is one of the best. He can outwork most other. He can wrestle and can brawl with the best. Pound for pound, he don't back down. He flies around the ring like an acrobat. The toughest his opponents, the better he likes it. If possible, make sure you tell him that information is from me.
Well, I appreciate that. That is very nice of him.
Yeah. So, Herb Simmons been around. He has SICW promotion.
He's been there and seen it all, man.
Yeah. So SICW, man, you've been there. You've seen it all. Who's the coolest person you met at SICW?
Okay, if we're going that route, I'm going to say Boogie Woogie Man Jimmy Valiant. He was awesome. I got to converse with him a little bit. I got to do a little bit in the ring with him. That was awesome, man. That was one of the coolest things I've ever done in my entire wrestling career. So I got to put him at the top there.
Okay. Before we go any further into SICW, what do you think sets independent wrestling apart from mainstream promotions like WWE, AEW, and what do you enjoy most about the independents?
The independents, I'm going to say the thing I appreciate most about it is just the creativity, because from what I understand, not that I've never worked for, the big companies, but from what I understand, it doesn't go from I have an idea and I'm doing that thing in the ring 10 minutes later. It's very calculated and planned, and there's preparation and all this stuff. Whereas on the indies, it's come up with an idea and hey, let's throw that out there. Maybe it's terrible, maybe it's awesome, maybe it becomes the next big thing. Who knows? But just the idea that it's I don't know. I find WWE and to a lesser extent AEW, I find them kind of contrived, and you can see the wires holding the puppets up, if that analogy makes any sense at all. But on the indies, it's just more of a living, breathing, changing organism all the time, and you never know what you're going to see next. It might be the coolest thing you've ever seen in your life. It might be the dumbest thing you've ever seen in your life, but somebody put their heart and soul into it. I think that's awesome.
So would you see Billy McNeil in the independents, or do you think you'd ever get the opportunity to go to the WWE and AEW and those bigger brands?
I mean, given the opportunity, yeah, I'd be a fool not to jump at that. But I think that if that day was ever going to come, that would have been quite some time ago. So I'm happy with where I am. So I got no problems with that.
Okay. I've talked to several people on the SICW, and you got another praise. Marler McDarby says, personally, he's one of the nicest, funniest, unique, and talented wrestlers and people I've had the pleasure to be around. So there's another praise for you, man. You are well received in that SICW locker room.
That's very kind of him. I have all the respect in the world for Mahler. He's a great dude, great talent. I love being around him. Love, just being across the ring from him or across the locker room from him. Either one's cool as me.
So you must have took an ass beating from him before, because he says he knows how to take an ass whipping and he never gives up.
Have you seen my matches? I take an ass whipping from everybody.
Who's the biggest ass whipping you took from?
Oh, geez. I don't know, man, because I've taken some pretty brutal ones over the years. But early days, Keith Smith and Chaz Weston chopped me about 600 times in a match once. I had Kid Cash almost take my head off with a chair once. That was fun. Let's see. I had a lot of things. Me and Sean Vincent had a pretty hellacious match probably about a decade ago now. There was chains involved and thumbtacks and tables and ladders and all type of plunder, and it was madness. We beat the hell out of each other.
What is your thoughts about Steven Espinosa and his regime, his faction?
I mean, they're running roughshod over SICW. I'd love to take a crack at any one of them, Stephen E. included. I mean, hey, you guys. I'll say they're not particularly welcome. I'd like to have them gone permanently, preferably. And if I could do anything to be a perpetrator of that, I would be happy to do so. And I'm an equal opportunity face kicker, so if Stephen E. wants to get involved, I will be happy to throw a foot his way.
Okay. FanFest. Can you talk about FanFest 2? Were you there?
I was not at FanFest 2, unfortunately.
Okay. Have you ever been?
I heard it was a fantastic time.
Have you ever been in one of those Bruiser Brody Battle Royals?
Yes, it was. I believe it was 2 years. Yeah, 2 years ago. They did the double ring battle royal, which was nuts. I made it. I did good. I didn't make it to the. I wasn't like in the final two or anything like that, but I did pretty good for myself. I think it was within the last like 5 or so people involved. But I do remember at one point I'd been punched or chopped or kicked or something. I was sitting in the corner just taking a breather for a second. I saw Superstar Steve backdrop Bobby D attempting to go from one ring to the other, I believe, and it didn't quite make it. And it was one of the most helicopter crash landings I've ever seen in my life, and it was crazy. And I saw it 2 feet from my face, and that has stuck with me to this day. And sometimes it'll just play in my head for no reason. I'll think, how did that dude not die? So I was in that one, and I'm pretty sure I was in the one before that as well. like I said, I've been in SICW for about 6 years now, if my math is correct, which it often isn't. But yeah, I haven't gotten too close to holding that trophy, but I'd love to someday.
Okay. So I forgot to ask you this, Billy McNeil. How many titles have you held in your career, and what's the most memorable one?
Geez. Let's see, how many titles? Let's see. I believe it's 5 different titles, 8 total reign, or sorry, 9 total reigns, 5 different titles. If I think I'm right with that. Most memorable was the first one, the Gateway Championship Wrestling Light Heavyweight title. I beat St. Louis wrestling legend Dingo in a TLC match. And this is 2002, end of 2002, maybe, or 2001. I don't know. The years get hazy as they go on. But anyway, yeah, we had a TLC match. I jumped off a balcony. He gave me a fisherman buster, or dingo driver, as he calls it, off a guardrail through a table. It was brutal, man. I was coughing up blood, and yeah, I won though. So mission accomplished.
There you go.
But
So-
yeah, that definitely that's one of my best memories.
Awesome. This weekend is NASCAR/SIW event.
Worldwide Technology Stadium. I don't know if
Yes.
stadium is the right word, but sure.
Are you going to be there?
No, I will not be there this weekend, but I do fully support everything they got going on. You know, I hope they go in and kill it. I'm sure they will. Going to be a huge crowd there. I got 2 shows. They got. I saw a previous listing, and I'm not sure it's completely correct, but I believe it's around 10 and around 3:30. The 2 show times. You know, a few match cards, so you know you're only getting the best of the best. And you know they got a lot of people, like 30 to 40,000 people talking about coming through there. So that's an amazing audience, great exposure for SICW, and I'm sure, like I said, those guys are going to go in there and they're going to kill it.
Okay. I have a series of questions, but I just thought of something. You're in the
Please, go ahead.
you're an independent thing in the independent scene. Could you give do you have a top 5 of independent promotions today?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, I got to go SICW at the top there. Obviously, I wouldn't be there if it wasn't. Let's see. Number 2, my other most recent work for promotion, St. Louis Anarchy. A lot of those guys I go way back with. Gary J, Evangelistico, Pierre Abernathy. I think they just know him as Matt now, though. But yeah, I've known those guys a long time. They're good people. I wish continued success to them. I know the guys over at Glory Pro are killing it right now in the St. Louis area. They're doing a great job. WrestleMax doing a great job, and I gotta give it up to Dynamo Pro as my home for a long time. They you know, as things happen, you drift away. You find, you know, you go different places. You find different opportunities. But you know, those guys are still going strong, and I wish them nothing but the best.
Awesome. So I got a guy on the show tomorrow night.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you his name, and you can tell me how you think about him, what you feel about him. I don't care. Don't hold nothing back.
You got it.
Lucky Pete Larson, Esquire.
Whew, sorry, I just vomited on the floor of my car. He's a garbage human being, a worse manager. If I get hit with that briefcase one more time, I swear I'm gonna take his head off with it. That thing sucks. And yeah, he's just the absolute scum of the earth. I don't know how him and Stephen E aren't like best friends, trying to, you know, I guess the egos are probably too big just because they're both terrible. But I got to imagine that, you know, they're neck and neck for worst person in SICW right now.
So your feelings about Stephen E's the same then?
Absolutely, yeah.
Vomit on the floor again?
I don't know how much I got left, man. I gotta try and keep it together here.
Okay. Yeah, so he's on the show tomorrow, and
Yeah.
but the questions he gave me, I think he feels the same about you.
Good. I'm glad. If he liked me, I'd feel bad about myself.
So he wants to know, why has nobody ever tied your damn tassels to the ring?
It's not for lack of trying. I know he has, because he tells me that every single time I'm in the ring with one of his guys. But I think the real answer to that is just because I'm too quick. I'm too swift in the ring. I can't be caught. And if I can, I escape quickly. So
One thing I do know
well,
that compared for management wise, and I'll say this before I ask, he has a couple more questions.
sure.
SICW, Mid States Wrestling, and other promotions that I cover. One thing I like about you guys is because you guys bring back old school wrestling.
Absolutely.
I mean, Jesse the Body Ventura, Gorilla Monsoon in the front of the ring, interviewing people. That's what you guys do.
Absolutely.
You guys have guys like Stephen E. and Lucky P. Getting involved. And here, guess who chimes in? He wants to know, has anybody ever tied his tassels to the... If you should have been here 5 minutes ago, he vomited on the floor, and he said you're a jackass.
They laid $1 short, buddy.
But you're too quick. He's too quick for you to ever get a hold of him. That's what he said.
Absolutely.
So anyways, get on with this conversation with you instead of being interrupted.
Good.
My question is, what I think is missing is because in today's wrestling, you have Paul Heyman sitting in the back holding a championship title, getting on his phone. There's no interaction. Why do you think that is in the sport today? Because that's what's missing, in my opinion. Managers like Mr. Fuji, Mr. Fuji, not Gorilla Monsoon, but Ted Lou Albano,
Doctor of Style, Slick, yeah.
Slick, those guys.
That's my guy.
They get involved.
Absolutely.
I think that's why I like. That's what part of Lucky P I like, and Stephen E. I like. They get involved.
Yeah, I like what they represent, but I can't stand either one of them. But I get what you mean, and I think honestly it's just because for the last, up until 2019, WWE was basically the only show in town, and they didn't feature managers too often, so it just kind of fell out of favor and became a relic of a bygone era. But hopefully, we can see that come back. It's starting to in little ways here and there. SICW is definitely doing their part, and let's see where we're at in a couple of years. Hopefully, it's a regular thing again.
Mr. Annoyance is on here again. He says, most interesting podcast tomorrow. Anyway, carry on. I mean,
if you say so, buddy.
I will say this. Like I said to you, like I said, Billy McNeil has one of the best promos I've ever had. This is a good, interesting conversation that Billy, but I don't know. Pete Rosin, Mr. Lucky P, keeps on interrupting. So I'm going to, again, try to talk. He says you're neighbors with the Simpsons since he's billed as being from Springfield. What do you say about that?
I refuse to divulge any information to maintain the safety of all performers involved.
And he wants to know, what do you remember about losing in the finals of the SICW Tag Team Championship Tournament against Lucky P and Kowalski and Mahler?
Not a whole lot, because I'm pretty sure I was unconscious. So thanks for that.
Would you like to? What else you want to say about Lucky P while he's sitting? Obviously, he's ghosting us. I mean,
there's only so much like you can say about a pile of garbage. It's a pile of garbage. It stinks. It's completely constructed out of discarded items that nobody wanted, and nobody likes it.
So is his guys that are under him or that he manages, are they just as bad as he is?
I mean, I can't speak for them all individually, but if you choose to associate with a guy like that, I can only assume you're also garbage.
Would you call him the most annoying person in the SICW?
Without a doubt, yeah.
Okay. What about Mahler McDarby and Kowalski? Are they annoying too?
In a different kind of way, yeah. in a way that I can almost respect, just because they're both incredibly talented, smart guys, and maybe they just got off on the wrong path for a little while there, but I have faith in them coming around someday. Whereas Lucky Pete Larson, I have absolutely no faith in for any reason whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, I have him on the show tomorrow. I hope it goes well.
I'm sure you'll be just fine. I'm sure he'll be awful.
Who's the toughest opponent in the SICW you faced?
Toughest? Ooh, jeez. I mean, I got to put Superstar Steve on there. We've clashed a number of times, most of which he has been victorious, but I've thrown just about everything I got at that guy, and he somehow manages to eke out a win every time. So, it's commendable for as awful of a human being as he is.
Steve Fender is awful human being too. You don't see eye to eye with him either, huh?
No, it's pretty difficult to see eye to eye with somebody who's completely delusional. So, it is what it is. Agree to disagree.
Well, I might. I mean, you run with Sean Vincent. I mean, there's
I wouldn't say I run with him. We have a personal relationship that spans decades, but it's not consistent. I mean, have you seen the dude recently? The last few times we've been in each other's presence, we've been trying to take each other's heads off. So at times it's friendly, at times it's a friendly rivalry, at times it's more of a rivalry than anything. So
I'm not going to try to start problems with you and SICW guys, but if I had to say rank your top 5 wrestlers in SICW and rank your top 3 tag teams in the SICW, what would you say?
All right, top 5 SICW, just off the top of my head. Let's see, I got to go Big Texan first. He's a champ. And as much as I don't want to, I got to go Superstar Steve second, just because he's, the other champ. Third in line, I got to go Bobby D. I mean, when's the last time that dude actually lost a match? It never happens. He's awesome. He's great. I got tons of respect for that dude. I'd probably throw Sean Vincent in there somewhere if he wasn't on the injured list again. I don't know. I got to put Jason Breed up there as another guy. When's the last time you saw that dude lose a match legitimately? And to round out the list, I'm gonna go Axe Allward, my last opponent in SICW as of press time. That pile driver is nothing to mess with. I thought he broke my neck. So hey, I hate you, but respect for Axe. As far as tag teams go, yeah, I gotta give it to the LA Hustlers. They got the tag titles again. I got to put Beretta and Vanetti right underneath them, the Top Guns. Just either one of those guys could be number 1 at any given time, depending on who has the better night that particular night. And then we got coming up in third place. I'm going to go to the Professionals. They've been back around lately. Those guys. I got a storied history with both of them, both in singles and in tags, and they shouldn't be taken lightly. And they honestly, you could put them in there with either the Top Guns or the LA Hustlers, and I couldn't tell you who's going to win on any given night. So that'd be my answer for that.
Awesome. So we're rounding up the hour. So I'm going to give you the mic. I'm going to have you tell the fans where they can find you, what's up next for the Mystery Action Clown, where you're going to be, what you're doing. Can they get merch anywhere? The floor is yours, man.
All right, you got it. I assume most people have a lot of stuff to say right here. I don't. I don't really do social media. If you happen to see me in the city where I live, you can find me there. If not, I will be at an SICW show. July. I believe we're going to a new venue in July. You'll find the info for that on the Facebook page for SICW. usually I just look it up on Google Maps the day of the show so I can find my way there. But yeah, I mean, best way to interact or see me is go to an SICW show. This weekend being a rare exception, but you know, if you're in the neighborhood and that sounds like your kind of thing, NASCAR's got this whole big weekend going on at Worldwide Technology Raceway. It's going to be like an all-day thing, Saturday and Sunday, from what I understand. Should be a pretty crazy time. Ludacris is going to be performing, from what I understand, which is completely insane to me. I had SICW and Ludacris on the same bill. I never thought I'd see the day. But yeah, that's kind of where it's at right now, man.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we had the mystery action clown Billy McNeil. He is mentioned to be the one that outworks the most. He can wrestle and brawl with the best. He's pound for pound, doesn't back down. He flies around the ring. Of course, that's why Lucky P's guys can't catch him and hang his tassels by the ring ropes. That's what we discussed.
Right.
Great cutter of promos. Great guy. SICW is probably one of the best in the independents. Longest running promotion, I believe, for 51 or 52 years now, I think.
Real long time.
Yeah, real long time. So Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast is pleased to say goodnight to Billy McNeil. Please don't go anywhere. I'm going to hit a song. I want to talk to you in the, real quick in the lobby there. But again, sure. Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. If you like interesting interviews, join me tomorrow night as I try to get through an interview with Lucky Pete Larson Esquire, managers of stars is what he says. But same time, same channel. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Facebook Live. I appreciate your time, Billy McNeil, and Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast is out.
All my dogs, make some noise up in this house. Who is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down. And when the drive-by's coming, then you better hit the grind. Cause when your body hits the canvas, then your head is knocked out. Who is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down. And when the drive-by's coming, then you better hit the grind. Cause when your body hits the canvas, then your head is knocked out. Fight with Adrian Whisper is like a fight with the devil, because when he's dealing with you, you cannot get on this level. Fight with Adrian Whisper is like a fight with a king. It's like a fight with an army. They got the